Yeah.
So
Let's talk a little bit
I'm
more about that circumstance. Like, so you were in
okay.
the Army. What years were you in the Army then?
This would have been my second time in the Army. I rejoined in, 2002.
Yeah.
And I retired in 2016. I was in from 91 to 98 as well. So I did a little over 21 years. But the time frame that they pulled me into the office and discussed that would have been around 2008, 2009 time frame. It was obviously was in garrison, so it was between deployments.
Yeah.
So around that time is when they talked to me. And yeah, I can just remember, I can remember telling them that I knew it was out there was nothing I could do about it, and thinking that there was really no way to go about, anything at that point. I didn't know what I could do about it, if anything.
Yeah. So it was from when our emails, it was one of the fellow soldiers that was caught with a bunch of child pornography, and then your commanding officer pulled you into the office to go through and said they'd seen you in the films.
I did not look at any of the films. All they said was, hey, we had to look at some of this stuff, and one of those people looks just like you. And that's the first time that I had, I think, ever really spoken about it. And I said, yes, those are probably me. But I did not personally see them. But they described something that I knew that I had been a part of.
Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Here's what it was.
Yeah.
They pulled me in, I can remember First Sergeant Bayless was kind of red-faced, and he said, have you ever made a movie with a black girl? And that obviously was, I'm not a movie star, so obviously that's a very odd question, and I knew exactly what he was talking about when he said that. Mm-hmm. So I said, yes. So he said, okay, well, we have found some images that are of a sexually explicit nature on another soldier's computer, I think, and they look like you. And I said, well, they are me. So he said, and you look underage. I think from that was part of their investigation to confirm that the images of the participants in these films were underage. Mm-hmm. So, that was just a secondary verification that, I was only 12 or 13 at the time of that film, maybe even 11. So, obviously I'm not an adult. And even when I was an adult at 18 or 19, I still looked young. So obviously at 11, 12, whatever I was in that film, I would not have looked like a mature, an adult, Mm-hmm. So it was more, I think, for confirmation that these images were of children. So I don't remember if he actually got court-martialed or if he just got UCMJ, which is just their lower grade of punishment. But I do know that he was chaptered out of the military over it. I think he might have had to do a little jail time, but I don't recall. I can't even recall the soldier's name that got caught with it. I just knew he was an NCO, a staff sergeant.
And did anyone else ever talk to you about the films again? Did they ever talk? Did they ever infer that there was any further investigation in terms to when the films were produced? Did they ask you anything about who is involved, or did they? No.
They didn't go into any legality other than the prosecution of the soldier with the images. So in the military is a little bit different than civilian. I don't want to call it the court system because it's just the officers and NCOs in the military, but they have their sphere of influence. They have their little scope of operation, and if they uncover more, I think that they're required to give it to the civilian authorities, but they don't have any jurisdiction to go further than to just prosecute the soldier for the infraction that he is guilty of, if that makes sense the way I'm saying it.
No, I understand. Do they have any duty or is there any legality, or do they have legal requirements to inform civilian prosecutors of such cases?
Yes.
Okay.
If they suspect if there's additional wrongdoing that is outside of their scope of being able to prosecute, and in this case to hold the individual soldier accountable for having this material that he's not supposed to have, they prosecute that portion of it. If it is beyond what they can prosecute, then they refer the soldier to civilian court systems. But in this case, the military did handle the prosecution of the soldier, and I think all he got was like 30 days and reduction in rank to E1. They kicked him out of the Army and gave him a less than honorable discharge, I think. I don't think he even got a bad conduct for that, but I know that he was put out of the military, and I think he did the 30 days in jail. I think is the most that they can give you at the at the level that they prosecuted him at. So I'm not saying that for sure on the jail time, but I do know for a fact he was put out of the military.
Okay. So they had films. They had some of those films.
What's his name?
Cable?
Yes, Habel. That was his last name. Habel, I think. Staff Sergeant Habel. I just remembered it because I could picture his face, and I just couldn't remember his name.
Habel. Okay. Habel.
Yes, I'm relatively certain on that name. I don't have the best memory. I was in a blast in Iraq, and one of the things that I struggle with mightily are names.
Yeah.
But I'm fairly sure that's his name.
Okay. And in terms of the films they had, so there was obviously a collection of pornography. Is there anyone you're in contact with of those, your commanding officers, that would they talk to you? Would they provide evidence? Or is it a situation where
Michael Bayless is the only one that I remember speaking to about it. I have not spoken to him since I left Fort Carson in 2011. I would think that he would probably remember something like that, just the unusualness of it. First sergeants deal with things day in and day out, but I would think that he would remember that, just because of how it's not every day that you have to deal with something like that,
Yeah.
But it is possible. I think my commanding officer's name at that time was Captain Colasanto, but I'm not sure, because you get commanding officers come and go. The first sergeants, they tend to stick around longer.
Yeah.
But commanding officers are, a lot of times they're only there for a year or two, and then they're off to the next thing. So my recollection of the commanding officer may not be accurate.
What's the spelling of his last name? Colasanto?
Cola, Colasanto.
Okay. Saint Cola.